Welcome to Beyond Dragondom, from wherever you are listening to today. The weekly episode channel for fantasy adventure stories. My name is Lesley. I am the author, the creator, and the narrator of Tales from Dragondom and Beyond, and Aisha's adventures through quantum time and space. Aisha Portal to Dragondom is the first in the series. I hope you enjoy the episodes as much as I enjoy writing them. If you are listening to me on my YouTube or podcast platforms and would like to leave a like, or would like to know automatically when the next weekly episode is live, I understand you can do this by pressing the follow. Shall we join Aisha now and her friends in her adventures in Dragondom and beyond? In the last episode of Aisha Portal to Dragondom, we met Aisha, and she had already met the Emerald Dragon and Milana. She had expected to then return to her own time through the portal, but instead found she was to travel forward with the others and enter Dragondom itself. And so her journey, her adventure, and her learning begins. Aisha Portal to Dragondom, Episode 3, Dragondom. I opened my eyes and looked straight up at the vaulted ceiling. The intricate patterns were highlighted in what looked like gold. They looked very similar to the flower of life pattern that I'd seen so often. These made up the central zone of each of the 3 vaults that made the width of the room. I sat up. I looked towards the vast window space. These were rounded on the top and had pillars down either side. They looked medieval to me, on first glance, standing maybe 12 feet tall and 4 feet wide, with the most exquisite, rich purple drapes I had ever seen. The floor felt cold underfoot. The massive, polished slabs of stone were scattered at intervals with ornate rugs. On the walls hung shields and swords that glistened in the early morning sun. My room was high up in the castle. We had flown in on the back of the Emerald Dragon long after the triple moons had risen. I did not know what to expect, but my hostess, whose name I was told was Sartina, was a kingswoman of Princess Milana of Arianel, with whom I'd travelled. I had no idea how long I'd slept, but the sun now up, I hurried to dress in the clothes that I'd been kindly given, and find out more about where I was. Out of the window, the sky was dotted with dragons flying freely around. Oh, what a beautiful sight! I literally pinched my arm to make sure that I wasn't just a dream again. So often the worlds I quantum jumped into were either ravaged with war or overrun with AI. This felt so peaceful. This was my first trip to Dragondom, and honestly, I had no idea about anything apart from the bits I'd learnt already from my own dragon. But here, on this trip, I was alone, having literally answered the telepathic call for help, which had led me to the Emerald Dragon and the Princess. Now I seemed to be an honoured guest in a land I knew nothing about, and without little one I felt naked. As if on speed dial, as I finished washing in the ornate bowl of water placed on a pedestal near the fireplace, I heard the gentle musical sound of Milana in my mind. "Good morning, sleepyhead." Turn left as you leave your bedchamber and follow the stairs down 3 flights and join us in the nursery, just off to the left." I smiled and did as I was told. I could hear laughter and what sounded like young dragons purring. Yes, they do purr when happy. There was no door, just a massive arched doorway that led into a large room that overlooked the interior courtyard. Sat in the window area with 2 young dragons, one on either side, was a young lady who was my hostess. With her was a much happier and healthier looking Milana. Both of them literally shone with happiness. I bowed my head in the direction of my hostess. I felt I heard her laugh in my head, which I can use my telepathic powers. They are a little rusty. I felt a little uncomfortable. This I also knew would be picked up by the 2 friends. "Aisha, please do not feel less than you are." The pretty musical voice was that of my hostess. She smiled at me, a warm, genuine smile. "Please, if you prefer, we will use our voices and speak with sound. However, you are doing fine, and after what you did yesterday, and bringing our dear friend back to us, if you wished to speak hedgehog, we would do so." At this, all 3 of us laughed, and the ice was broken. She stood up. "Come, we can talk on the way, for unless we leave now, the young ones will be late for their history classes, and that would never do." With that, she and the dragon pups literally seemed to float past, with me and Milana left to follow. We looked at each other, both simultaneously shrugging our shoulders, and did so. Outside the castle there was a very large area with trees in clusters around it. Here there seemed to be hundreds of tiny and small-sized dragons of various colours and shapes. Some looked as if they were large flying lizards or tree hoppers, others similar in shape to my dragon friend and the emerald dragon. Others were different in shape and size. Every colour of the rainbow seemed to be here, with various hues of every colour imaginable. What a joy-filled sound! Sartina was off to the side, under a clump of what looked like willow trees, talking with several girls and young women. Many of them had baby dragons in their arms. Others were playing chase with the little ones. Milana informed me that Sartina kept her castle here on the outskirt zone of Dragon Kingdom, known as Dragondom in Arianel, as a nursery zone for baby dragons who would be going back to their parents in their positions off-world when they were old enough. The young ladies and girls were, if you like, here not only as nurse staff, but also so that the babies grew up accustomed to the type of beings that they would interact with on their home planet area. They lived in the castle and also helped out along with the dragons and in all aspects of the community as well. An important role played by everyone was to help to install values, community spirit into the youngsters at the earliest age. Deep in conversation as they were, neither of us noticed the youngsters. Suddenly we were both knocked sideways by what at first I took to be a very large ball, although in hindsight I should have known, as balls are not usually scaled. It, however, was not a ball. As it came to stop, it uncurled, revealing itself to be the cutest little dragon I have ever seen. Apologizing in squeaks, it fled as fast as its little legs would take it, while Melania called after it to be more careful, but that no harm had done. Then she looked at me, and we both burst out laughing. "Come on, let's get out of here. There is plenty of time to answer a million questions that will be asked. Anyway, I want to show you some of my home world. It is all new to you, so I have the pleasure of showing it with pride." I've heard tell of Earth, your home, in my lessons with the High Wizard, and how it has become such a sad place, lost for so long from the collective consciousness, and turned instead into a place of pain and want. He told me of dying forests and dead waters. I want you to see Arianel. Here, magic still exists. She started off towards the side of the castle, then stopped. You do ride, don't you? Melania looked at me, and I nodded. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and will join me again, Lesley Laws, at Beyond Dragondom, either on podcast or YouTube, for another weekly episode of Aisha Portal to Dragondom. And so from me, for now, I wish you all goodbye.